Ouais, c'est intéressant. Alors, en fait, ça me fait penser au fait que le livre a été écrit en 2009. On est en 2024, donc ça nous a pris 15 ans pour avoir Tactics enfin en français. Et je me pose la question sur est-ce que tu penses que ces stratégies de conversation euh, ont tenu le temps? Est-ce que tu penses que ça a évolué dans le temps? Ou est-ce que c'est quelque chose d'assez costaud, en fait, c'est tellement fondamental que ça s'applique autant aujourd'hui qu'il y a 15 ans et les conversations qu'on va avoir aujourd'hui vont être plus ou moins les mêmes que celles qu'on avait 15 ans. Donc voilà, est-ce que tu penses que ça a changé ou pas?
One of the most frequent comments I get from people after they've read the material or sat through a class, and I just got this comment actually yesterday from someone online, is that this is the kind of material that people in business are taught to pursue to be more effective in business, whether they're in sales or some other in leadership or human development or whatever, is you use questions to establish where people are coming from and what they're thinking and what they mean and try to get an understanding of their views, and then you move on from there. So there's a sense in which the tactical game plan is timeless because it reflects really solid principles of communication and human interaction, particularly over controversial issues. All right. So this is not bound by time in any way, shape, or form. Now, some people have said, well, now we have postmodern people that are very subjectivistic or relativistic, and they don't care about truth. Well, in America, in the States, this is true to some degree in terms of the way they talk. But the fact is, as I mentioned before, we're all human beings made in the image of God. And we have to live in the world that God made it, and so we are bound by reality. I mean, reality is on our side, is what I've often said, because if people disagree with what is true about reality, they're going to bump into it. They're going to be injured by it possibly, and so we have that on our side. These points that I make in the book on how to navigate can be used in all sorts of circumstances. People say, well, can I use this in arguments with my wife? Well, the answer is yes, because they're legitimate. You have to be careful, more careful, especially in that circumstance. But the material is still the best, good. In fact, if you talk to marriage counselors, they say you ought to talk more often, and you ought to get clarity on what people mean and why they say the thing they say, kind of thing. That's standard. So these are timeless truths. All right. And by the way, it's been about 2009, 15 years now since Tactics book has been out, and it's still kind of at the top of the charts somewhat in Christian sales. And that's because it continues to be relevant to conversations with non-Christians. Indeed, it's become, in a certain sense, more important because the conversations especially in the West have gotten more volatile. They've just gotten harsher. The opposition in general, and I would say it's more the political left, which is, I don't know how big that is in France, but it's huge in the United States. Has just gotten a lot more vocal and very, very aggressive, as you know, and consequently, it's important to stand against their ideas because they're damaging. They're deadly, in my view. They're deadly to a liberal democracy in the best sense of that word, and they're deadly to human rights. They're deadly to morality. They're deadly to all these things. That's the left. It always has been like that ever since the Russian Revolution. So it's really critical that we now engage these issues as effectively as we're able to. So tactics can be used beyond issues that just are tied to spiritual truth or moral truth. Although the moral truth is important because the moral truth is what we see embedded in public policy issues. What does it mean for justice? Now you got all kinds of justice. You got sexual justice and gender justice and environmental justice and social justice and all kinds of justice. And one person once observed that if you add an adjective to the word justice, you corrupt it. What about just justice kind of
Yeah.
thing? Okay. But so this is more important that we have clarification on things and use this tactical approach for the good of humanity, for the good of our communities, for the good of our people. So yes, I think these are timeless concepts, and they are more pressing now than ever before because of the hostility in the culture.